listen
come
to
on,
me.
man.
The overt actions from the investigation is what has identified the members that are part of the enterprise. That means their phone conversations, niggas getting caught doing whatever they was doing, right?
Now, according to what this guy just said, Surf and his homies were identified by their overt acts, the things that the government found on them, right? And if you look at the actual documents, you'll see that the government says Cox committed overt acts in furtherance of the enterprise, and then they list his overt acts. Now, these overt acts are the different crimes that each associate is accused of committing. And this is why Surf and all his people keep saying everybody had their own charges, because everybody had their own overt acts that fell under count one of the racketeering indictment. So you charged with racketeering, but everybody had different roles that they played in furtherance of the gang. Now, like I said, Surf overt acts are listed right here. And as y'all can see, it says WW. Now, if you look at this other document, it says Warden has worked with enterprise members and associates to distribute controlled substances. Multiple examples of Warden involvement in drug activity, which constitute predicate acts in furtherance of the enterprise, are detailed in the indictment. For example, as described as detailed in overt act WW. On or about October 6, 2020, Warden and Cox, Sue Surf, discussed a plan to distribute marijuana. It's right there. These two have the same overt act, WW, a plan to distribute controlled substances. That's conspiring with other members to move marijuana across state lines. That's what they mean. These two have the same. So if they are identified by these overt acts, then these two, this overt act connects these two. Surf don't gotta say his name while he's actually entering the plea, because they already identify him by the overt acts. Now, when Surf is pleading out, if you look at line 5, it says, I just want to highlight a few areas there as it relates to Schedule A. I'm on page 9, Mr. Cox. And it indicates specifically as it relates to count 1, that is a RICO conspiracy, and it outlines certain facts under that, specifically as to, Act 1, Racketeering Act 1, Aggravated Assault, and Racketeering Act 2, Drug Conspiracy. They then ask him, Mr. Cox, were you a member of the Rolling 60s gang? He answers, yes, ma'am. He then asked him, did you conspire, that is, agree with other members and associates of the enterprise to commit at least 2 criminal acts in furtherance of the enterprise? He says yes. They then ask him, were you a leader or organizer? He says yes. They then ask him, did you commit overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy? He says yes. Now, you really got to pay attention to this part right here, because when they ask him, did he commit overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy? And he says yes. They then say, for example. Now they are listing specific overt acts that he participated in that furthered the conspiracy and the enterprise, right? They ask him, on or about January 29th of 2018, were you convicted of shooting at a rival gang member? He says yes. They then say, during that same time period, did you knowingly and intentionally conspire with other members and associates of the enterprise to distribute and possess with intent to distribute at least 40 but less than 60 kilograms of marijuana across state lines? He says, yes, ma'am. Now, they close this plea hearing out saying, is it fair to say that at the time you are pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty? He says, yes, ma'am. The court then asks the government, is there anything that they would like to put on the record? And they list 5 things. They start off with saying, first, the Rolling 60s Neighborhood Crip is an enterprise as defined by, the statute that makes it a gang. Second, the activities of the enterprise affected interstate commerce. So they telling y'all they was crossing state lines with this. That's what makes it federal. Third, members and associates of the enterprise engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity, and they state the law. Fourth, the Rolling 60s Crip gang is a structured entity with a core of personnel which has remained intact through the years, and the group has an existence separate from the commission of any specific racketeering act. So, hey, let's get on the record too that the 60s do have structure. They do have a hierarchy. There is someone at the top of this food chain. Fifth, had this gone to trial, the United States could have proven each and every element of count 1 and 3 beyond a reasonable doubt. So they putting it on the record that if this would have gone to trial, they could prove that what they said in overt act WW, that Rajon Cox and Warden were conspiring to sell weed. They could prove that for a fact, right? Beyond reasonable doubt. And then they say the United States submits to your honor that these representations, coupled with Mr. Cox's affirmative answers to the questions that you just asked, provide a sufficient factual basis. So the fact that we are saying that we can prove each and every element of count 1, coupled with the fact that he just said yes to you when you asked him if he conspired with other members to move drugs across state lines, is enough to say that he is in fact guilty and you can accept this plea. Now, y'all see how they just strung all of that together? They got him to admit to the overt act listed in WW without ever saying a name during the plea. But they specifically asked him about things that highlighted that he was talking about that instance. They made sure they were saying you did certain acts. You committed overt acts. And then his overt acts were listed, like I showed y'all. Weapons, the shooting, getting caught with the guns, and the conspiring to move the weed. So he didn't have to say dude's name. Once he admitted that he did it, it was over with. Dude was done.
How do you feel about that? He says, once you admitted that you did the overt acts, dude was done. All right. So we understand that somebody on the top of this indictment received a lot of time, obviously. Right. I think a lot of things had to be put into play, not caping for surf or nothing like that. You know what I mean? I just think a lot of things had to be brought into play. Are multiple people taking plea deals? Did people come together for Surf to get up out of here? Surf is probably like a money maker type of person. People could say, yo, listen, man, you just get the hell up out of here and maybe you could get right. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what the conversation is behind doors? That's one thing. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't speculate for that. So we'll just factor that in because people won't talk about that. He did get bagged for the straps. We understand that he got bagged for 2 weapons in one instance. He was with another member, allegedly. That's what the people say. And he was with a woman, a female, and there was a 40 and a 9 in the glove compartment. And the woman is the one that actually took the charges. All right. Shout out to the sister for doing that. That's crazy. I know guys that won't do that. So she takes the charges, and after she takes the charges, Surf gets away. But then Surf goes online and claims ownership of the weapons by saying, yo, man, they took my 40 and they took my 9 in specifics. And this is how they was able to bring that back into the case and into the indictment as Surf having ownership of the weapons, and he pled guilty to these same weapons. When it comes to plea dealing, especially in like a conspiracy in cases like that, it's hard not to tie people into what you're going to be pleading to, because everybody's tied into this as a conspiracy. You know what I mean? Everybody's connected by a thread, if not by more. We know that Young Thug says Gunna snitched because Gunna said, yo, YSL is a gang, and he feel that YSL should be disbanded or whatever the case, and it's not a good thing. All right. Regardless of anything else that Gunna said, because he was involved with a case with Young Thug as well when they was stopped on the highway one day. But just based on those things alone, half the world called Gunna a rat. You know what I mean? So hence, here we go with this. And a lot of people who maybe not even knowing about the system or how things go or proffer agreement or the 5K or anything like that may just run with a story, you know? So how do you feel about Surf? Do you feel that Surf snitched? The crazy thing, but in Jersey, you know, I don't know. Maybe if you're from Jersey and you're hearing this, or you're from Jersey and you feel this way, like he snitched, then get in my comments. Let me know. you could come and talk on the channel. You could DM me and we could speak, you know what I'm saying, and have a conversation about what you think. But, you know what I'm saying, I'm from New York, you know what I'm saying, but I got people all through Jersey, you know what I mean, I got people in Newark and all that too, you know what I'm saying. Even when I popped out, you know what I'm saying, I'm only in one spot of Newark, or one or two spots, so it's not like I'm running around the whole Newark, you know what I mean, like John Gotti or something. But that's not really the vibe. People are not really saying that. They're not saying that Surf is a snitch, you know what I mean? And if people feel it, a lot of times, if we don't all feel it, we kind of wholly kind of feel the same kind of things, or we're leaning towards the same way a lot of times. But let me know how y'all feel. Do you think that Surf is a rat? Do you think that he told on Rolling 60 members? Do you feel taking a plea deal in a situation like that is snitching? You know what I'm saying? Because we understand RICOs, we understand what it was created for, right? And if you don't know, you know, it was created for mafias. It was created right here where Diddy was tried at, in the Southern District of New York. I'm from New York City. This is where it was created. And this is where it was created to stop the mafia and the people that were getting away with crimes that couldn't be touched because they were so higher up on the totem pole that when you get the soldiers and everybody else, they would never tell on the Godfathers. See what I'm saying? There was so many things, racketeering and different kind of things that they were doing or alleged to be doing. So this is how they were able to tie in the conspiracy. And this is what they created. They created the RICO laws, right? And those are the statutes that they brought. Those statutes was then in turn used on like minorities. They would deem them to be minorities, but people that look like me. I don't know if you look like me, but they were used against those people that was selling the drugs back in the days. The Alpos that you see in American Gangster, the Frank Lucases, these kinds of the peoples, all these kinds of people. You know what I'm saying? This is what it was created for. Um, and then it was used against them to tie people up into conspiracy for drug charges and different things like that. The point of it, though, is that the mafia, even though we know that mafias ended up telling this, and people ended up telling, but the point of it was to be a code of silence for everybody to remain silent, for us all to just assume innocence, right? And nobody do no funny moves, nobody do nothing, and we just keep it as solid as we can. You know what I'm saying? We saw an instant of that with the BMF RICO. You know, some people say, yo, this side told, it was T side that told, it was me side that told. No, this side ain't tell. You know, but we know a lot of people in that RICO, in that indictment, did not tell. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully wish they all didn't tell. You know how it go. But, you know, they kept it solid for a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? They really stood down and they stood tall. So based on some of those things like that, people would say that Surf is a snitch too. I heard someone saying on a platform, I think it was a battle rapper, because you know the battle rappers was having a panel, and even one of them came to bring up things to say, nah, you ain't just supposed to say nothing. You're supposed to wait like everybody else. So now the point of contention also with Surf is that did he took his time first. So if he took his time later than first, would that make a difference? Since he took his time first, it seems like he took his time and got up out of there instead of staying down with the gang or staying down with the people. You know what I'm saying? So this is another conversation of people are throwing into the conversation. So there's so many sides and thoughts on this, and I just want to put them all on the board. So what do you think, though? What do you think? Read the paperwork if you don't. I did a read. I'll do another read on the whole case because I just was reading Surf parts or whatever the case. I'll do a read on the whole case so that y'all can see. It's like 51 pages of just could break down the whole indictment itself. And I'll read the 51 pages for you. You know what I'm saying? So that you can see it. You ain't got to buy pace or whatever. I'll just read it so that you can get a sense of what the hell's going on. And we just don't have to be like a fucking hamster on a wheel, listening to what the next person says. And then we running with a story because that's how we are online. Literally, we like that in real life. And that's sad to say, but we most definitely like that online. And then we factor in content plays and shit like that. So think about we damn sure on a hamster wheel with the shit. See what I'm saying? So it's about us getting to the information. It's about us really, really knowing what the hell's going on. And for me to really just call a person a rat, I got to really see it black and white. We got to really know from the people that was in the thing. They got to say it and all of that. So lead us down the road and then show it. Even if people that was in the case with Surf came out and said that Surf was a rat, we could probably lean. Let's say it's the top dude that's in there. He said it. We could lean and say, damn, son, that's real. Let's see what Surf say back. If he don't say nothing back, we might have to believe him. But still in all, what? We are going to have to see the paperwork proof to prove that. Nowadays, in this day, is crazy. You know what I'm saying? You don't even need paperwork to prove that someone's a rat. you could just say that someone's a rat and then the person's a rat. You know what I mean? Many people are losing their lives just being called rats and they're not rats. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with ratting, not at all. You know what I'm saying? I believe that if you're doing crime, just do your time. I believe that. You know what I'm saying? I believe in all those things. But it's just the lines are getting real blurred when it comes to what ratting is. You know what I mean? We was kids, we know if your ass told, you told grandma, you told a nigga, you snitched, man. It's just period, bro. We wasn't talking about, yo, I ain't say grandma like that. I ain't tell mommy that you did the other thing. We didn't ration it out. You did what you did and you snitched, you told. That's it. It was more simpler when we were young, bro. So now the lines are really blurred. But y'all get in the comments, y'all let me know what y'all thinking about the whole situation with Surf. Free Surf, man. Free that boy Surf. I say free him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, prove that he's a rat, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I ain't on nobody's side, bro.